We are part of a bigger picture. Planet Earth is a very small speck in the universe. For the sake of this story, we'll start at planet Earth. On Earth is a small country called New Zealand, and has a population of almost 4.7 million people. New Zealand has towns and cities. Every town and city has properties, some small, and some large. Every property has people living their daily lives. They all eat, sleep and poop. These people travel to work and back home every day. The infrastructure supports the population of 4.7 million. Some cities have congestion issues, however, no matter how many additional lanes we put on the motorways, there will always be a bottleneck that causes backlogs. Here's a solution. Remove the traffic lights at the end of the slipway onto the motorway, and traffic does not have to stop before it can merge with vehicles already on the motorway. Solution 2. Remove all traffic lights and install roundabouts. Traffic will flow much better. What is our obsession with having to work and/or live in the central business district? Solution 3. Decentralize business, and this will ease the burden on the central business district. The same applies to living in the suburbs. Solution 4. Make public transport reliable, convenient and free, then people will be silly to insist on using their single-occupant vehicles. Solution 5. Make cycling safer by having cycleways off-road. More people will cycle to work when the journey is safe. This brings us to the housing crisis. Solution 6. If everybody were allowed to build a second dwelling on their property, will there still be a housing crisis? What is the role of local councils? Do we really need them? Property developers have a number of plans that they use to build houses for homeowners. These house plans are approved by council. Why is it necessary to submit to council for building consent when the plan is already approved? Why can't we just supply a site plan for the specific site? Would this not considerably lighten the workload on the council? This will save a substantial amount of money too, as building consent, resource consent, and development contributions, and in some cases, land use consents, can quickly add up. Development contributions are also a money-making racket. What exactly is that money being used for? Some people will argue that council building officers enforce the council's building regulations. Does the building officer really know more than the engineer and the architect that have designed the house? As well as the licensed building practitioners that are building the house? The licensed building practitioners brings up another point of contention. Where did the first ever engineer, professor, architect, put any profession in, get their university education from? Who taught them? If only we can answer that question. We come back to the housing crisis. Some people really want to live tiny. It affords them the ability to be debt-free quicker, or even from the get-go. This will put people in homes, albeit tiny, if that is their choice. Some people dream of living off-grid in the country somewhere. And why not? Why do these people have to jump through hoops to satisfy the authorities? A tiny house on wheels has to be built within certain measurements to be classified as a vehicle. It's required to have a registration and a warrant of fitness to be allowed on the roads. Then council comes along and insists that it is a dwelling as it is occupied and therefore require a building consent. The purpose of a habitable space is that it needs to meet safe and sanitary requirements and complies with building regulations as per the building code. The building code requires foundations. A tiny house on wheels has no foundations as it is movable. Building consent has a site plan requirement, indicating the building, relative to boundaries. The building consent stipulates height to boundary restrictions. The site plan also indicates where the services like sewer, water supply, telecommunications and electricity and/or gas is located. It is in your own interest and common sense to remain on good terms with your neighbor and ensure that you comply with boundary shading restrictions. A tiny house on wheels is self-contained, therefore no services to indicate. A tiny house on wheels is mobile. Do I need a consent when I want to relocate my tiny house on wheels? You don't require building consent for a caravan. You also don't need to ask council permission to relocate your caravan. As long as your caravan meet the New Zealand Transport Association regulations, you're free to park your self-contained caravan anywhere unless stated otherwise. In summary, these problems exist since time gone by, and are not new. Solutions have been sought and as yet, nothing has changed. We still have health challenges, family challenges, accommodation challenges, and well-being challenges. Let's together resolve these issues as suggested in the aforementioned examples, as a partial solution to some of the most basic rights of humankind. For more information like this, be sure to visit input=output.com. Thanks for watching and have a most outstanding day.